Alrighty, YouTube, it's your boy Zxous, and we're back with another Goddess of Victory Nikke video. And in today's video, we're going to be using Julia, obviously with the brand new MAST unit, because Julia is a character who her whole thing is literally to crit. Like, her whole kit is basically increasing her crit rate, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I've been enjoying using MAST. I think it's very fun that she's, allowing other characters to also be used, right? Obviously with this comp we're gonna be running MAST, Julia, and Arya, right? Because Arya is also another crit support or a crit damage supporter, just like MAST. And obviously Julia's whole thing is that, every other 10 seconds after the first 20 seconds, she's actually going to increase her own crit rate by 20%. And then when the last bullet hits, she's actually going to be stacking crit damage, right? So there's that, right? She does do damage on her burst skill as well, but it does obviously the most damage when you're fully stacked up on crescendo, I believe that's how you say it. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting. I have her all level 5 skills. The cube I have on her obviously is resilience cube, because her second skill, you want the last bullet to hit. And then we already know what MAST does. Obviously, 2 attackers and herself, 70% lower HP, they get crit defense, and then for the crit damage, and then for the first 30 seconds of the match, they get crit chance. So at least by the last 10 seconds you have left, Julia herself should have well over damn near 100% crit chance, right? So we're actually going to be running her with Privity as well on the team, just because by having Privity on the team too, we're actually going to decrease the bullets, which is what we want. We want to have as little as possible bullets as as possible. So we're gonna try this team. Obviously, I think it's gonna work well. I think hopefully Julia performs like crazy. She should, right? I think MAST is a very good character, right? Like I said, I think she's one of the best burst 2 DPS support options for your main DPS. Honestly, she might be the best one, honestly, because I think I would have said it was probably Rupee or Dollar before for that burst 2 slot. But look, okay, so right now we don't have the crit buff from Julia, right? So we have the Pirate Sight crit rate buff from obviously MAST alone, but after the first 20 seconds, then we will get this additional crit rate buff. So literally only for 10 seconds left of Pirate Sight will we have the 18% plus the 20%, right? So, but you can see she's critting, right? Obviously we haven't used the burst skill yet, which is going to increase her crit damage. So she just got her, I think actually, wait, let me let that play out, right? And then MAST, there you go, and then Julia, quite good. So right now I believe Julia is at what, 3 stacks? She's at 2 stacks of her her crit damage crescendo, but now we're in a full burst, so her bullets actually got cut in half, so it should be easier for her to actually just get more stacks, right? So now she's at her 3rd stack and she's still at 30 bullets, and now she got another stack, right? So that's why we have Privity on the team, right? And now she's at max stacks of her crit damage, so she has a lot of crit damage here. And then we now have the crit rate, right? So you can see how much she's gonna crit, right? Yeah, she's critting a lot. She's critting a lot. She's critting for 16k per hit, right? Again, Julia isn't maybe if I had Helm on this team, we could increase the normal attack crit rate more, because besides literally her, oh well, now she's critting for 42k, or she was for a second there. Well, obviously, when we, not a second, but for the first 7 seconds, right? This is the only thing. I wish MAST's burst skill literally lasted for 10 seconds, right? Because when we're in that burst skill, she is going to be critting for, all those shots. She is in the max stacks. Yeah, she will always be at max stacks, right? Once you get to 5 stacks. But yeah, she will do damage. How much she at? She's at 17 million, right? Maybe I should have brought an actual DPS on the team as well to kind of see how it would work. But I needed to have Privity there just to have the thing. I really wish they had a character who had attack speed, or increased attack speed for allies, right? But yeah, she's doing pretty good. 20 million there. Privity's at 15 million, right? So let's see how well it looks without MAST, obviously. and probably without Arya. So she was at 20 million. I don't think she's gonna do all that crazy without these characters, but we're still gonna have you know, Privity here. Let's bring Rupee, and then, you know, let's bring let's bring Noir. No, yeah, let's bring Dala. You know, I think that's a, I'm gonna bring Dala for the attack buff. I don't know why I feel like I always have to bring Rupee and Dala, because they, I guess it's just because they increase attack, right? So by them increasing your attack stats, it's like, okay, they increase your attack stat, and then literally they increase your attack stat, and then it's like, you know, I'm just comparing that to the crit damage, right? I don't know, but obviously I don't think she will hit as hard here because her whole thing is to crit, really, right? And her normal attacks are being increased actually by the crit damage, or by the attack buff, my bad. Her normal attack, so you can see here when she crits 60k crit there, right? 20k on average though, right? 20k there, and then she goes back to 17 after the full burst, right? She is at 5 stacks though already for her crit damage, and the only person who is buffing her crit damage is herself right now. So that's pretty cool. What is she at right now for damage? She's just at 5 million. So yeah, I think if you do want to use Julia, you don't even have to use it as the main DPS. Like if you really want to, you could take Arya off. I think you could actually have like MAST, like you can bring like Litter, for example, then MAST, and then like, let's say Modernia and Scarlet, and then you could have Julia as that like 3rd DPS, right? With somebody like oh, I guess you can, right? Because she would have to be your 2nd DPS since it's only 2 attackers with the highest attack and then MAST, right? So it would have to literally be 2 attackers. So maybe Modernia and then Julia, she could be your secondary DPS. I mean, she's performing. She's at 17 million right here actually. So, and there's that, right? You can see, I don't know. And she's barely critting here. Just slightly under 20 million there, huh? Yeah, she's just slightly under 20 million. Yeah, just slightly under 20 million. I'm not gonna lie, I do like the fact that MAST like literally, like, I don't want to say like makes these characters the new best characters in the game, right? Because I don't think MAST is making, like, let me compare her damage to like Modernia, right? No, not Modernia. Let me do Guillotine. That's I think that's more of a fair shot. I think that's more fair. I'll do it like this, and then again I'll bring Arya again. Let me pause it and put on gear, and then we will be back. Alrighty, so I put on gear. I want to see her damage compared to another DPS, right? Just to kind of see how well she would do. I think especially with MAST, Guillotine is going to, I'm still getting used to saying that name, Guillotine, and she's going to obviously perform quite well. So if Julia ends up being quite close to her, that might be well, right? The only problem with Guillotine, Julia and MAST is that for her 2nd skill, it's literally going to proc when Pirate Sight, which is MAST's skill, is like at 10 seconds left for its cooldown, right? Which is so unfortunate, right? Because you have to wait the 20 seconds for the match to start, right? So right now, no, that's not it. Where is it? So it's activated right now. It activated right now. But literally, the other skill that has 9 seconds, the Pirate Sight, is like, it's so weird. I really think MAST should have, like, I think Nikke, if you buff MAST up, not now, but when you decide to buff MAST up in the future, definitely make it that's not a 30-second, and make it as like the whole game, because it's not hurting nobody if it's only for 2 allies with the highest attack, right? Maybe it would be too broken if they had their crit rate increased by so much the entire time, but you could kind of see that like the 30 seconds is quite short, right? Especially when matches are what, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, if not like 3 minutes. So there's that as well, right? But now Guillotine is getting stronger as time goes by. Every time you use a burst skill, remember her attack is, her HP just went down even more, right? So yeah, you could see that. But who's performing more? Okay, wow, Julia's actually higher than Guillotine, which is impressive. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of a good showing there. She's actually higher than Guillotine, and Guillotine's, remember, her attack, not only is Guillotine getting crit damage and stuff, but her attack is also being increased heavily because her HP is dropping, right? And every time you use a full burst, you're gonna see it goes down even more, right? So, and then she just used her burst skill even more. Okay, who ended up doing more completely there? Okay, Guillotine got her ultimate last second, so there was that. But 2 million difference, right? Literally, not that bad. Let me compare her to Modernia. I don't think that's going to be a fair showing, of course, but I'm curious. I generally don't think this is going to be a fair showing, but I'm curious to see how much of a difference it is. But they had 2 million under, and that's because Guillotine got her burst skill off literally last second, right? That's the only reason why she was at 2 million, or she got 2 million more, right? She was literally at her burst skill last second, so... I'm not gonna lie, bro. Julia, she could do the more extra damage that you might be looking for if you need another DPS, if you have MAST, but yeah, I mean, I think she's usable now, right? Like, if I would use Julia now, right? But if I'm going to use Julia, I would have to have MAST on the team, right? It's just as simple as that. I would actually use Julia now. I would use Arya now. These are two characters that I think nobody was really using beforehand, but now they have a lot more, you know, value because they're doing what MAST is doing. I mean, they were doing it before, right? I mean, Julia does it to herself, and Arya was basically doing what MAST was doing before, but it just wasn't enough. But now with MAST, it feels like it's kind of dangerous to have all of it together, right? Like, Modernia must have more than Julia at this point, right? Yeah, 17 to 6 million. It's really not a fair showing here, but there's not much we could do, right? When Modernia, because Modernia is getting the same buffs as the thing, and Modernia also stacks up her own crit damage as well. So literally, it's on first skill actually. Yeah, literally, the exact same thing that like Julia is getting is Modernia is getting exactly the same thing. Not to mention she's giving herself an attack buff as well, right? For every time she hits a what's it called? 200 shots, 200 normal attacks when you're in the full burst, right? It's kind of crazy, right? So, of course, Modernia is gonna hit way harder than Julia. It's not even close that Julia would hit as hard. But I want to see, is it like something that I would consider? Like, if let's say, this is what I mean. Like, for example, let's say Modernia by the end of it has 40 million damage and Julia had 10 million damage. Then obviously, you know, I think there'd be a lot better options you can use, no question. But if like Modernia has like 40 million and Julia has like 20 million or like 25 million, I feel like that'd be good. Because obviously we're not going to compare Julia and Modernia and say, oh, Julia is now as good as Modernia because what? She's critting a bit more, right? Her damage is a bit higher with this type of team. But yeah, 35 million, 17 million, which is like literally half basically. Literally. So I'm not going to lie, it's actually quite usable now. I would say if you're running Julia, I would highly recommend to run her with MAST, honestly. I think if you're gonna run Julia, run her with MAST. Actually, I just noticed. Okay, I guess we're in a buff, right? I don't know. I guess it was probably just buff attack, right? But yeah, I think Julia is very usable now. I'm like I said, I'm very glad that what's her name? I'm very glad that MAST kind of like unlocks this character, and same as this character, right? Because they were obviously not being used before, but now people are actually using Julia, people are actually using Arya, right? But yeah, Julia, definitely pretty nice now. Not like broken, insane, top tier, top of the top. Probably still not like as much for. She probably just went a bit higher, but not like, oh, now must run her type thing, right? But it is pretty nice that I can actually use Julia as an option now if I do want to, you know, a second DPS to do some type of damage, right? If I'm deciding to use her with MAST only, and only with MAST and maybe with MAST and Arya, right? But you guys let me know what you think. I think it's pretty nice. Yeah, it's your boy Zxous. I'll see you guys next one. I'm out. Peace.